What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Will, and I'm back to give my quick review for Shazam. Shazam is the newest entry into the DC Extended Universe, or World of DC that they are calling it now. This is the story of Billy Batson. He is a 15-year-old boy who is gifted extraordinary powers by the wizard Shazam and chosen to be his champion to defend the world from mystical threats and dangers. And what happens when you give a 15-year-old superpowers? Apparently you just take selfies and try to get easy cash, at least for the first half of the movie. The role of Shazam is actually played by Zachary Levi, who, if you are familiar from television, he was the lead in the show Chuck. If you're familiar with some of the MCU, he actually did portray Fandral, one of the Warriors 3 from Thor: The Dark World and Thor: Ragnarok. Although I wouldn't say those were great performances by the character, but that's not really his fault. I think he does a stellar job as Shazam. He has the comedy chops, he has the look, he has the presence to portray such kind of a flamboyant character. Shazam as a whole is really Superman if he was a kid, and he really emoted that through his performance, and that I really like. And not even to say that was the best performance of the movie for myself. I actually like the performance of the kids. The younger version of Billy Batson was played by Asher Angel, who I was not really familiar with going into the movie, and his friend Freddie Freeman, who is a disabled kid that he lives with in the foster care home that he is kind of not thrown into, but he enters after running away from other foster homes over the course of the last couple years of his life. And it's really the underlining kind of theme of the movie is family, is where do we belong, and is family who you're born from, or is it who that you choose your family to be? I think I kind of butchered that saying. I do apologize. They're in a relationship, the two of them. They're developing friendship, and the way that Billy needs to learn to trust people and not think that he can do everything on his own is the overarching theme of the movie to me. I think it's a really great theme. It's a really nice way of doing the origin for a character who really most people don't know. And I think the movie does a really good job introducing the character. In terms of like the action and the graphics of the movie, I thought the costume looked really, really neat and actually showed the lightheartedness of the movie. There are darker tones in this movie, which is kind of a staple of the DC films, but over the course of the last 2 or 3 films, Aquaman and Wonder Woman, they have really kind of gone away from that darker tone that defined the DC movies over the last 10 years. And I think this is a good next step in that evolution of how to tell these character stories. You can have kind of your more adult themes like being abandoned as a child, growing up in the foster care system. How does that affect someone's ability to trust and form relationships with people? And on top of that, having a villain played by Mark Strong, who is not just a mustache twirling villain. He has real motivations. He feels like he was never good enough, and kind of it parallels well with Billy's character, feeling that like being abandoned by your mother and not feeling like you were worthy enough for her. Like, it shows how these two characters are on similar paths but break off into obvious different directions, one being pure of heart and good and the other person being not. And I thought they both gave really good performances. I thought the kids in the movie really had great performances and interplay with each other. Like I said, not a heavily action-based movie. There are only 2 big action set pieces, and I will say that I enjoyed both sequences very well. Some of the graphics weren't as strong for me. You could kind of tell what were CG and what wasn't. Which with other movies out there, I'm going to name drop Avengers Infinity War. We have a character like Thanos who seems so real and so present. Some of the other CG villains weren't really, you could tell. And that's not a real heavy knock against the movie. I actually really enjoyed this movie. And it was just one negative I can think of overall for the movie. There are a lot of deep cuts to the comics, and me, myself, I'm not personally knowledgeable of the Shazam comics. I know the character to a degree, but in terms of a lot of the deep cuts, I definitely have to do a little bit of homework. But I don't think it's something that your average moviegoer will see as a turnoff of the movie. So that's a good thing that anyone can go in and kind of enjoy the story. It's about family. It's about figuring out where you belong. You know, are we born from our family, or do we choose our family? You know, what's our choices in terms of who we associate with, and about connections and friendships. And you know, you may not be blood, but you can still be family. I think that's the best way I'm trying to say. There is a lot of world building, but it's subtle and it's done well, where it's not heavy-handed like something like Age of Ultron, where I think some of the world building in that movie was definitely more heavy-handed, whereas this one, it's kind of like little Easter eggs and name drops, and it's a little meta. The movie itself, I think it's a little bit meta, but not in a meta way like Deadpool, where it's not in your face meta, but you know, we've had so many movies based off of superheroes. We can make little jokes about the genre, and I think the movie does it really well, especially through Freddy, who is kind of the fanboy who helps educate Billy on his new situation with having powers and what is important for being a superhero. I think overall, it's a really solid origin movie. I had a really good time with it. I thought all the performances were very strong, albeit not super heavily action based, but the kids who portrayed the family in the movie really did a good job with the roles that they were given. And I will say the movie does set up the world. Like I said earlier, it does a really good way of subtly setting up the world, but also subtly sets up for a sequel. And we get little hints to Black Adam, who is supposed to be portrayed by The Rock. He's been attached to that project for the last couple of years. We'll see if it actually comes to fruition, but we did get a lot of subtle hints to that character in the movie as well. Overall, I think it's a strong entry into the DCEU. I like the new direction that these movies are going to. I'm looking forward to Joker. That is kind of the next movie on the slate that's coming out. Now, one thing to keep in mind with all of these movies, they, at least in terms of Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and Shazam, those are connected in very subtle ways, except for one little cameo towards the end, which I won't spoil, but I thought it was funny. Those are connected in very subtle but effective ways, whereas I believe Joker and I think the new Batman movie coming out are supposedly standalone. Same thing with Birds of Prey. This was another really good entry in this new direction that they're going in, and I'm excited to see them do a sequel to this movie. I think a sequel will be well warranted, especially if you can get Black Adam into a sequel, since you kind of hinted at the character in this one. But overall, yeah, strong movie. I left the theater happy. I left it enjoying myself. I laughed a lot in the movie, so the comedy, what was in the movie, really hit home, and I look forward to the sequel. So, Shazam, have you seen it? You give it a thumbs up, thumbs down, in the middle. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. I just hit 100 subscribers. Thank you so much to everyone who has recently subscribed, and everybody who subscribed to the channel over the course of these year and a half, almost 2 years. It really means a lot to me. I really do enjoy doing this, and I look forward to many, many more. So thanks for sticking around, and thanks for joining me. And until next time, catch you later. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video, and you made it all the way to the end. Aren't you special? If you did like this video, if you don't mind, give me a thumbs up on the description. As well, if you click on my face right over here, you can actually subscribe to the channel for more videos. And if you've got a few minutes, why don't you check out a video or two that are floating on the side right here. Later.